What stories could these bridges tell if they could only talk? They'd tell us of the ones who rode and those who had to walk. The rich, the poor, those in between, who used their planks to cross. The soldiers, farmers, businessmen, in buggies, sleighs, by hoss. Like sentinels, these bridges stand, in spite of flood and fire. Their rugged, stalwart strength remains, our future to inspire. So here we are today in my backyard, and my backyard has 4 covered bridges in it. And I'm in Swanzey, New Hampshire. We are luckily.
We're very lucky.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We're one of 2 towns in the state.
Excellent. And what's the other town?
Cornish.
Cornish, okay. So this is Lee Dunham, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today, with the help of Lee, about the 4 remaining covered bridges that we have in this area. Now, these bridges have been standing for a long time. I sort of wish that I was here in the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, because most of these bridges were built then. A lot of them were built for different reasons. Now, they used to build bridges, and they've had probably some bridges that didn't have covers over them. So there's a lot of stories as to why we have covers over the covered bridges. So Lee, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, let's give you, first we're in New England, right? So,
right.
The term Yankee, and I'm not talking Red Sox and Yankees, comes up. Yankee farmers were pretty smart about what they did. And you build something out of wood and leave it out into the elements, and guess what? It rots. So they put a cover over it so it would protect the bridge. Mm-hmm. That's probably the best answer to the question, but there's other answers to it. Another thing that I'll bring up about Yankee ingenuity, and this bridge is the perfect example, because you notice how the bridge has this beautiful angle to come into it.
Right.
What's the shortest distance from point A to point B?
Right, an angle.
Right straight
right,
across.
Right, straight through, yeah.
So the bridge was shorter if you went straight across, and then you make people turn at the other side.
Right.
That's not how they design bridges today. They
right.
will not do that because people have accidents and whatever. So that's where you see a lot of old bridges. When you go up to them, you'll find out you get this wicked corner to get into them. And that's why, right. Because they saved on material and made it easy for them.
Right. Did they have tractor-trailer trucks back then?
No. Well, they had the tractor of the day.
Yeah.
That was an ox.
Right. Four-legged. Yeah.
And if you can believe, I'm familiar with oxes because at the old homestead we have a pair of oxes every year, but in the 1800s, a set of oxes could probably weigh somewhere in the region of 2 tons, or maybe a little bit more. They were your tractor.
Right.
They were your truck. And that's actually what these were built for.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So they were meant to keep the oxen straight and going across. Now, another thing that they say in some of the research that I did is that oxen don't like to look over and see the water or hear the water going by, so they put the sides up on the bridges for that reason as well.
Oxen are they're smart, and they're not going to go someplace that they don't think they should. So.
Right. Now, these could also get very slippery if you didn't have a roof over the top. That even the wood inside, when you're in a car now, gets slippery sometimes. So if you didn't have that roof over that, you'd get some slippery stuff. Then rain and snow. And
yeah, part of my job, as you know, I'm also the public works director here. In charge of these bridges, I have to deal with routine maintenance and not so routine maintenance. But these bridges are slippery in July when it rains because the cars bring in the water and the floor gets wet. Right. Wood is wet when it's wet. So that's a warning to everybody out there. Make sure you drive slowly on these bridges.
Yeah. Now, what's so big about these bridges? What's important about keeping these bridges in our area?
Well, I'm at really a loss here because, and the reason I'm at a loss is I grew up with these.
Right.
I've always had 4 bridges in my town. I've lived within a half-mile of this bridge all my life. So I don't know what it's like not having covered bridges in town. Where other people may have had one and lost it, and we did lose one to fire, but we rebuilt it again. But these are, in layman's terms today, these are obsolete bridges. Right. And the state has classified them as obsolete, functionally obsolete.
But these are a piece of art.
They're a piece of art.
You know,
yeah.
this took so much to think about. The trusses in there and all of the, like you said, the ingenuity that people took, because not every single bridge is the same.
These were built by a master craftsman,
Right.
who was very experienced in what he did. Put together pieces of wood that would last over 200 years. Nowadays, we build a bridge, we pay an engineer $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to say it will stand, and then another couple $100,000 or better to build the bridge. And
these are still
it
standing.
won't last as long as these do.
Right,
So.
right. So how much would it have cost to build these bridges? You know, we were going to talk about 4 bridges today. There's the Thompson, the Crescent, the Slate, and the, what have I left out? Carlton.
Carlton.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how much approximately would it have cost? Because I've seen some things in pounds, and I've seen some things in dollars.
Yeah, the first bridges built in the 1700s
Right.
were all in pounds and shillings. And I'm not good with math, and so I can't tell you how much that would be in today's dollars. But I think the one that we have the best information on, I think, is West Swanzey or Thompson Bridge, and that was like a little over $750 to build in 1883, I think it's somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Today, that's a lot higher.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be almost $1 million, really, to do this.
Yeah, the 2001 we rebuilt the Slate Bridge. Of course.
And why did we build that? Because?
Because it burned on March, I think it was March of 1993.
Right.
It was burned by an arsonist, never convicted.
And that's really sad.
That was put back with state bridge aid at a cost of roughly $900,000.
Right.
So today, $1 million would be
Easy.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
These bridges, this bridge that we're at the Crescent Bridge, and this bridge right now, today, about 3,000 cars go by it every day.
Right. You think they ever thought that?
I mean, no, when it was originally built in 1859.
Right,
no.
right. They must have used this road, but all this area back here in back of us, or in front of us rather, was probably all farmland.
Yeah.
You know, so again, this was all used for farmers.
And actually, all these names that we're throwing out of bridges, like a lot of people, this is Sawyer's Crossing Bridge.
Right.
Or it's Crescent Bridge. Now, Crescent Bridge comes after Thomas Crescent, and Thomas Crescent lived somewhere over here on the west side of the bridge. Mount Crescent on Matthews Road, named after him also.
Never thought of it, yeah.
He owned this land.
Right.
You can actually, if you go into Reed's history, I think he left a will, and it's actually in the back of the book, so kind of neat.
Yeah.
The other thing about this bridge, which we got to go back to people in the 50s, anybody on the 50s out there, remember Arthur Godfrey?
Yes.
Arthur Godfrey.
Oh, he owns this bridge.
He actually is he's a part owner. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe his heirs now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the 50s, he had a talent scout show, one of the pioneers of television. And they did something, I think it was a promotion for Chesterfield cigarettes that used the bridge. And I think it was Governor Hugh Gregg that flew down and gave him an honorary deed to the bridge.
Isn't that funny with cigarettes? Nowadays, you never see that kind of
yes,
thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But that's back in the day when the host of the TV show actually did the commercials.
Right, right. Yeah,
So.
yeah. And, you know, so they used the bridge for that. But, you know, I even heard that when they opened this bridge, they had a party in here.
Yes.
And they had all kinds of lanterns in there, and they closed it off, and they partied. They danced all night.
What I hear is they closed off one side of the bridge for the orchestra, which is a 4-piece orchestra. And yes, they put lanterns up and danced through the night, had a feast and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd do that today. Yeah.
Town of Swanzey's going to close off the bridge tonight. Yeah. If you had any idea, how much traffic goes down this road, you'd be amazed. Really, I mean, 3,000 cars a day. Seriously, there is a lot of traffic down this road.
Well, understand this too, that is the people that live on either side of the bridge. You close the bridge, those people love it.
Right.
Because the traffic goes away.
Yeah.
But everybody else doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we have 4 bridges in Swansea. There is a covered bridge tour that you can take to go to all of these different bridges.
Yeah.
And you know that one, I think you'd probably go to this one, maybe then Carlton, or.
depends on which way you run
Yeah.
the loop, but
Yeah.
you could either do Carlton, then Slate, then come back through West Swansea and
Yeah.
do the Thompson
Yeah.
Bridge,
Yeah.
and then back to here.
And they're all beautiful. Now, what you could do is there is a map that you can use. It's at this facility here, and you can look at that map and check out the direction that you want to go. There's a nice parking lot here as well at the Crescent Sawyer Crossing Bridge, and you know, you could make a good morning or an afternoon of it.
Yeah, this parking lot has served well because it's also for the covered bridges, but it also serves for the rail trail, which is right nearby.
Right,
so,
right, yeah. So that makes it really nice.
recently
And Swansea
opened up.
recently,
Yep.
yeah, they recently redid the
So you actually
trail.
see a lot of people using this.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We actually walked down here the other day from our house. We were
Yeah.
walking our dogs because I wanted to check this location out, and it's great. I mean, the rail trail is wonderful. You can get here. You don't have to worry about the cars, you know, being around you or anything. So that's good. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, you know, we see water running here. This water gets pretty low in the summer. It's kind of in between right now, but have there ever been any flooding or any problems in this area with that kind of thing? Because this is pretty high up off the...
Yeah, this bridge here, flooding is a little bit less of a concern now that we've removed the dam down in West Swansea. But where we're standing right now, we would have been under probably enough water to be over our heads in 1938. Of course, 1938 for those in the area, the hurricane came up. And we've got picture of the water right up to the floor of the bridge. And I believe West Swansea the same way. Water is right up to the floor of the bridge.
Wow.
You get it any higher than that, then the water starts pushing it against the bridge and actually will uproot it and take it downstream.
Yeah.
Which you guys, you know, you probably saw that in the floods that happened back in Vermont a couple of years back.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we've been fortunate. The way they built these, and Carlton Road does it, our headache child for Public Works is Carlton Road Bridge.
Really?
It always floods. That's the first place it's going to flood.
Oh, it's a big field, yeah.
And we've hesitated to fix that because, yeah, we could raise the road up and we could fix it. But what are we going to do to the bridge?
You'd have to make it longer or something.
That water has to go someplace.
Right.
And if you take the way it's going, you're going to put it all through underneath the bridge. And we didn't want to do that.
Well, you know, let's go over and take a look at the Carlton Bridge. We won't have time today to look at all the bridges, but we will show you, photographs as we go along. And I'd really like to talk about the other bridges as well. But let's head over to the Carlton Bridge, and then we can learn a little bit more about that style. And is it the same trusses that are in this bridge here?
No, this one is town lattice,
okay,
which the other three are, and then the Carlton Road is the one different one.
Okay.
That's Queen's Post Truss.
So let's talk about the trusses then a little bit then right here. So tell me a little bit about what are they called again?
The trusses? Town lattice truss.
Town lattice, yeah.
That's when you go through a bridge and you see these cross members, everything's just all crisscrossed.
Yeah.
That's the town lattice style. That was pretty common. The Queen's Post Truss, not as common, but we have an excellent
And is the Queen's Post Truss, are those more like a barn? Is that what that was?
Sort of like a barn, yeah. And the speculation, nobody's proved anything, but the speculation is that probably Carlton Road, which is our oldest bridge, was built by barn builders instead of bridge builders.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll take a look as we go through, and then we'll make our way over to the Carlton Bridge and tell you a little bit more about what we're seeing here in Swansea. So we'll see you in Carlton Bridge. So here we are at the Carlton Bridge. This is the oldest bridge in Swansea, built in 1789.
Yeah, reportedly the oldest. They haven't confirmed the date, but
Right.
obviously it's on the sign, so that's good enough.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they had to rebuild it in 1869. And then
Right.
there's some renovations that have been done in the 1900s.
If you were here in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up and through, you went through this bridge. This is one of the bridges that has a nice arch to it.
Right.
It didn't in the 70s. It went, you've heard of the swayback horse? It was like that. You went in and went down.
Wow. Well,
So-
it would have been a lot easier for a horse to get across it when it was lower, but now you've got cars, so it really doesn't matter. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about with cars is I see these signs that say passenger cars, pickup trucks, and nothing in tow.
Right.
What does this nothing in tow mean?
Nothing in tow, to translate for everybody, is no trailers.
No trailers at all. Nothing in tow.
Nothing in tow.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we had this bridge actually, and this side of this bridge got destroyed by a truck hauling a trailer. not your average trailer. It was a tree spade, and it was extended, and that's why it.
But they went really slow. No, I know.
They actually destroyed. And this is, of all the bridges, this is the best bridge to do that.
Right.
Because it's a Queen's Post truss.
Right.
Now, a Queen's Post truss goes like this to Queen's Post. And those are back in about 20 feet. So it didn't damage the actual structure to this bridge. It just damaged the whole portal.
Right.
And we ended up putting it all off to the side of the road.
Right. Yeah.
We closed it for a while, but only because we were worried about the roof coming down.
Right. So how did they decide how wide and how high to make these bridges?
That's a very unique, or it's New England.
New England, yeah.
New England.
Yeah.
You had to make a bridge big enough for a trailer of hay, wagon load of hay. I mean, come on. What did you do? You had hay. You had oxen and horses to get yourself around. You didn't go to the gas station. They didn't take gas. They took hay. So you had to make things so that the farmers could get their stuff through. Right. And that's why the size.
Yep. Yep. So, and the height was because of the hay wagons too?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we didn't talk hay bales back then. We just pitched in on a nice big mound of hay on a trailer. And that's how it was done.
Right. So the other two bridges that we haven't talked about today are the Slate Bridge. Now, the Slate Bridge is down in Westport?
Slate Bridge is on Westport Village Road. That bridge lists about 1800 when the first one. The records are missing on that, so they don't know exactly when, but about 1800 it's built. In 1842, a four-pair team of oxen and their owner went through it and destroyed it. And it was rebuilt in 1862. That one was then destroyed in 1993 by an arsonist. And so then with the help of state bridge aid, the current bridge was built in 2001. So it's a brand new bridge, covered bridge on steroids, I call it, because it's got the full height. It's still a single lane bridge, but it'll also hold a 15-ton load.
But don't tell anybody that.
Well, no, that's what it's rated at.
Okay, all right.
It actually will hold a little bit more.
Yeah, okay. And then the Thompson Bridge, that's a nice bridge down in West Swansea.
Yeah.
And that one used to have two sides where you could walk down. I mean, I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the mill, getting everybody to...
Thompson Bridge, the most picturesque probably of the four. It did have two crosswalks or pedestrian ways on either side of it back in the old days. Now think on this side, on the east side of it, where the fire station is. The original fire station was right off of the bridge, not very far at all, probably about 10 feet away from it. And on the other side was Gamarlo's first grocery store. And those both are gone now. But on the other side, in 1941, 42, during the war, the mill was actually expanded to increase production for the war, and it went right up to the road. And at that point in time, pedestrian way was really gone on that side of the road. So I think that's when the south side pedestrian way got taken away. So it now has just one. Yeah,
and it's beautiful. They've taken out the dam now, and so it's just a flowing river now.
Yep, dam is gone. Actually looks pretty nice.
Yep.
No, it's kayakers heaven. We've seen kayakers go across the falls, so they're having fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So is there a story that you'd like to share with everyone about any of the bridges, something that you'd like to leave everyone with?
Well, of the bridges, we talked about Arthur Godfrey and whatever. The last thing that I'll tell you is about the Slate Bridge, and that goes to a man named Orleans Eaton. Now, you've lived in Swanzey for a while. You've traveled on the Eaton Road.
Right.
Well, aptly named for Orleans Eaton, who lived in not one but two farms that were adjoining. The first farmhouse burned from cinders from a passing train because it was right on the tracks, or the house was very near to the tracks. And then he went to the village for a while and then bought the other farm, and that building still stands. Now, Orleans was in his 80s when this happened in 1917. He was a Civil War vet, and he was a contentious old man, very nice man, very, very well respected. But here he is in his horse and buggy on Westport Village Road, down by the bridge, when he gets come across by a couple youngsters in a car in 1917.
A car?
And they were looking for money, so they held him up at gunpoint, and he said, "I'll give you my money." He took his whip and went like this to him, and they shot at him. The bullet passed right through his palm of his hand, didn't break any bones. But he died later on from blood poisoning from it. Of course, 1917, the doctors didn't have what they do now. So this was a kind old man that met his demise right there by Slate Bridge.
Yep. Wow. Wow. The stories that they could tell, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so many things that have happened to these bridges along the way.
Well,
so.
you think of, you know, the ox and wagon and the horse and buggy, and then now we've got cars and trucks.
Right. So they were never, you know, I'm sure nobody ever thought that they would have these huge trucks and cars and all of this heavy equipment and things going through the bridges. But these are still standing, and they've got the granite foundations, the wood, the roof. I mean, there's all reasons that we have covered bridges, and we just drive by and we think, isn't that quaint? That's beautiful. But, you know, what is it going to take to keep these things going?
Well, it takes a lot of little things that we have to do on a yearly basis. We routinely have accidents with them. We're, you know, constantly probably $1,000–2,000 a year to try to fix up little things, dings that happen. But I can tell you, in the 13 years that I've been Public Works Director, out of the 4 bridges, I've had 3 of them, pretty much one portal destroyed. And that's about a $10,000 to $12,000 fix. But in you know, for the taxpayers, we don't have to pay for that usually, because we do catch the person that did it, and they pay with their insurance. So. But once every so many years, they have to be really gone through. We've replaced the deck on 2 of them so far since the 90s when they were redone. So it's a wear course. And that's what it is.
So, you know, today we've been around to some of the covered bridges. You know, really, when you go over them, think about where they've, you know, who the people are that have passed through these before with you, what to do, and how to be safe, and keep these things for a long, long time, because these are our history. You know, if these leave, they're gone, and nobody's going to rebuild these for $1 million to build a covered bridge. So please think about these things when you're traveling through Swanzey or taking the covered bridge tour. I think it's a great, you know, place to travel and enjoy your day, and just slow down a little bit and relax. And I'm telling you to slow down. Anyway, thank you for being in our backyard today, my backyard, with Lee Dunham and Jody Turner. And we'll see you again soon, again in my backyard.